My Lord and my God, I firmly believe that you are here, that you see me, that you hear me. I adore you with profound reverence. I ask your pardon for my sins and grace to make this time of prayer fruitful. My Mother Immaculate, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me. It was not that uncommon whenever I was a child that we would have power outages. And perhaps for a best part of an afternoon, an evening, sometimes a little bit longer, the whole day, we were plunged into darkness. You could, of course, go outside and play during the daytime hours, but whenever it began to get dark, we were more or less confined to the house. And with no TV, there was pretty much no entertainment. And whenever the evening came and there was naturally no light, we kept these kind of heavy-duty candles that would at least give us a bit of light to work around in the kitchen. That was back in the day whenever people didn't even seem to light candles, seemed more of a luxury thing, just to kind of light candles around your house, but it wasn't so much of a big feature in my family in the early 90s. But again, these big candles would appear whenever we had no electricity. And in a world without TV, the candle also provided great entertainment. There are few things which are of greater delight to a simple mind than re-melting wax back into a candle again and playing with fire. Children do not play with fire, but it is something that attracts us, something that just this power, this flame that you can melt things in, bits of wax, little bits of paper, maybe even a plastic pen, just something to entertain us, to pass the time before the lights would come back on. In truth, whenever I think back to those days, those moments, whenever we had nothing but our own entertainment and the candle for light, it's a happy memory, in truth. The simplicity of our kitchen being bathed just in a few candle lights, it was a happy time. And whilst we were kind of usually relieved, I suppose, whenever the lights would come back on, because we could flick on the TV again, there was also something a little bit sad about it, because the simplicity was overtaken very quickly by everything else. Also, I suppose, and we could never think of this as a child, but that which is natural, which is the light of the candle, is replaced by something which is artificial, the lights. And in truth, we are so dependent upon light, but so dependent upon artificial light. How easy it is for us to just flick on a switch and boom, the room is bathed in light all of a sudden. Now everybody has a torch on their phone. I remember whenever a torch was like something you would get for your birthday or for Christmas. It was a kind of a great present, but there's just no need to buy a torch anymore because everybody carries a torch around with them all the time on the back of their phone. So we've gone from being kind of dependent upon light to being kind of over-dependent upon light. It's just there all of the time in our pockets. It can be summoned up at just the click of a button or the flick of a switch, and we've got the light that we need. But it's artificial light. There is something beautiful in the spring months whenever the days are brighter. And even if it forces us to get up a little bit earlier because the sun comes to invade our sleep and to bathe the darkness of our bedrooms in light, there's something natural about that. That we readily awake because the sun is there to illumine our day. And that's not artificial. That is something natural whenever we are bathed with the light that we need in order to survive and to live. Jesus, you say to us in the gospel today, I, the light, have come into the world, so that whoever believes in me need not stay in the dark anymore. Well, that dark is caused even sometimes by the artificial light. The things that pretend to offer us natural beauty or pretend to offer us something pure, but are actually distracting us from what is the true light, which is you, Jesus. I remember one time when we were in seminary for a retreat for Advent, the first Sunday of Advent, the preacher told us that we were not to turn on any lights at all. And it was fine, during the day, but when it came to kind of early evening, it was very tempting just to turn on the light, just to read something. You needed a little bit extra light, but he asked us not to turn on the lights at all. Because when we celebrated the beginning of Advent, with the celebration of evening prayer, we lit the first candle on the Advent wreath, these 4 little candles that mark the countdown to Christmas, whenever the light comes into the world. And it was so powerful whenever we lit that candle, because it was the only light in the seminary. And it was the only light that reminded us about how you, Jesus, are the only light. And we become so dependent and so easy to get other forms of light. But only maybe whenever we appreciate the darkness and how the darkness can trip us up so quickly, that we appreciate the beauty of the light. Think about it. We couldn't drive at night, essentially, if we didn't have artificial light, at least to be able to turn on the headlights of our car, or even the little green and red lights that stop us from crashing into one another whenever we come to kind of cross-section of a road. So we're dependent upon lights, but these lights are artificial. How much more do we depend on the true light that comes into the world, which is you, Jesus? And it makes me think of the beauty of the symbols that we celebrate on the Easter vigil. After these long weeks of Lent, the power of this fire which is set up at the door of the church to recall the resurrection. This fire which has a power of itself, and it transfixes people. You see kind of people coming out of the church to celebrate the Easter Vigil, and we're all kind of staring at the fire. Something so beautiful, something so untamable, something that has real power in and of itself. When that fire is blessed, from that we take the fire to light the Easter candle. And there was 3 moments whenever the candle enters that church in darkness. And when we hear sung the Lumen Christi, the light of Christ, we say, Deo gratias, thanks be to God. And the light that then gently bathes the church whenever that one candle is divided amongst all the little candles that we hold in our hand. That it is from that one great light, the resurrection, Christ, that we receive individually a little light to be able to guide us to our place in order that we can see where we are going. And that's so beautiful, a symbol that we celebrate in the Easter Vigil, which is actually a very potent sign of what it is to have you, Jesus, as the light of our life. That it is only from your light that we can really gain any insight into the path ahead. So many decisions that we make in life, and we forget really to ask for your light. We prefer the darkness so often. But in the darkness we stumble and fall. In the darkness we cannot recognize the face of one another. It's only in the light that comes from you, Jesus, the true light who comes into the world, that we have a new brightness, one that attracts us, one that gives us hope, one that gives us commitment, to know that we're not going to crash into one another, to know that we're not going to walk blindly into a hole. But Jesus is really and truly the light. Maybe sometimes we need to just focus a little bit on the experience of darkness in order to appreciate this beautiful spring, this light that bathes our life, which is you, Jesus, bringing us new life, bringing us hope, bringing us a way forward. We pray also in these days of Easter that Our Lady will help us to welcome the light into our lives, that she who was guided always by that light of Christ will help us to make a place in our heart to kindle the flame of the resurrection in order that we too can truly live by the light of Jesus, her Son. I give you thanks, my God, for the good resolutions, affections and inspirations that you have communicated to me during this meditation. I ask your help to put them into effect. My Mother Immaculate, St. Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me.